Hey guys, welcome back. As this year comes to a close, I wanted to hop on here and give a quick business update and a life update and do a little bit of reflection and kind of let those thoughts marinate a little bit before I decide what kind of goals I want to set for next year. This will be a slightly more casual video, so feel free to grab a beverage and get comfortable. We'll start with some just general life updates. Life has been pretty busy this year with a young family, and we've done a lot of travel, spent a lot of family time, all good things. We were in Hong Kong, we were in Toronto, Tulum. We're traveling to India for a few weeks. We went to Lake Tahoe. It's been a lot of different trips, a lot of fun memories, a lot of good pictures, a lot of just new experiences and pushing our kids a little outside of their comfort zone, experiencing new things. And I know we're super fortunate to have all these experiences, and I don't for a minute take them for granted. But I also want to encourage everyone who is interested in traveling. There are ways to travel a little cheaper and look for creative ways to, not creative ways to pay for stuff. That sounds like getting into debt. Please don't do that. I'm more talking about like if you have credit card points, if you have work trips that you can kind of finagle into a fun trip as well, just different ideas, or even a closer trip, a road trip. Something that just breaks routine a little bit, I think is super helpful. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It just makes for a really special memory, especially when kids are so small. The time really flies. I think it's fair to say that family has really been the main focus life-wise this year, and I just find it very enjoyable. Like little joys of dropping kids off at school and picking them up, hearing their little anecdotes of how their day went, answering really abstract questions from our children, learning to be a better person, better parent. I push back a little bit on the whole like you're either career focused versus family focused, or you're an ambitious person versus a family oriented person. I think those things coexist. It's always a balance. And honestly, raising good humans and parenting, that's hard work. I feel like it's not really an either or kind of choice, more of a question of how do you want to balance the different facets of your life. Another way I've been thinking of this is if money were no issue and I just do whatever I want, what would my day-to-day look like? I would probably still be dropping my kids off to school because that's genuinely enjoyable. I still want to talk to them about their day. I would still travel. Essentially, very fortunately, I've been living the life that I kind of would even if I had all the money in the world. I will admit, if money were completely not an issue, I would not be doing any chores ever again. And I probably would also work a bit less, and I could do more of the fun things. Like, I think this is fun. I think spending time with my family is fun. Learning new stuff, facing a new challenge, that's fun. So yeah, it might be a little bit of a rebalancing, but for the most part, I'm really happy that I've been doing what I want to do anyway. If you are in a similar boat and you're juggling a few different things, one way to look at it is you're working hard and kind of grinding towards these long-term goals, but at the same time, it's really the journey that is the life that you get to live. The journey is still important, if not more important. Moving on to more of a business update, I think on the real estate front, last year we were talking about, well, even earlier this year, we were talking about looking into getting another property, either a long-term rental or a short-term rental. I kind of looked into the Wisconsin Dells area thinking, you know what, that's not too far from us. We can check on it. There's a water park situation going on. It could be fun. It could be a meeting point for our family in Chicago as well. We haven't completely ruled that out, but I think looking at the market, looking at how much investment we would put in versus how much money we can expect to make, it feels a little bit like the juice isn't worth the squeeze, at least right now. If interest rates change, if the pricing changes in the housing market, that might change what I think. And so I will be taking what I have learned and what I have analyzed in the market and just kind of peripherally monitor. I think the additional context too is like this chunk of money that we could put into a new house, into a new project in the Wisconsin Dells, Baraboo-ish area. We could take that same chunk of money to add a pool at our existing beach house, and the increase in revenue there might even be better than what we would get starting completely fresh with a new house. Either way, it would be a huge learning curve, probably more so with a completely new house in a new market, having to build a new team and whatnot. So all of the data and what I've seen so far points more towards adding a pool. We aren't completely decided on that yet, and I'll have a video coming on that whole process of thinking through and looking at the numbers for adding a pool versus not adding a pool. So that's to come. As I was looking through all those numbers of pool versus no pool and making that decision and taking my sweet time, I also kind of noticed that there are, like bigger real estate investors who can seemingly make a decision much faster. And I couldn't help but compare myself a little bit to that. I know we are completely in different circumstances. The dollar amounts are different. The number of properties are different. Yeah, like if you have, 20 properties, making a big change in one of them, whatever, that's one of 20 versus me and my beach house. That's my one place. I have a regular job. And so it's just a different level of risk tolerance, different budgets, different life goals maybe. So yeah, I keep having to remind myself that, hey, this is not the same thing. You cannot compare yourself to other people. I know I give this advice plenty on this channel, but I needed to take my own advice as well. Beyond this pool edition and just kind of peripherally checking out Wisconsin Dells-ish area, we're also kind of looking locally where we live because it's a pretty solid place to have a long-term rental. There's a lot of people that come and go in this area for training, for all sorts of things. Since we've already learned the market, built relationships with our realtor, it's really not that hard to keep monitoring and see if anything comes up. All right, part 2 of this business update is YouTube. I have not been posting as much as I would like. I would be posting more in the ideal world, but if I have to choose between, say, taking the kids to go see the Sugar Plum Fairy for Christmas versus making a video and staying on time, I'm gonna choose my kids. I'm sorry guys, but that's really more important to me. We've established that this is my priority. You may have heard a quote that goes something like, it's not that you don't have time, it's just that you're choosing to prioritize certain things. And I completely agree with that. We all technically have the same amount of time, and I have chosen to spend more time with my family, and that's okay. That is what I value. And going back to why I even started a YouTube channel in the first place, I think it's A, to provide helpful information to people like me, but B, people like me are also normal people with jobs and maybe families to take care of. People like me aren't the people doing YouTube full-time or real estate full-time. So even though I completely understand that, yeah, if I don't post as consistently, we don't hit the deadlines, that it would kind of hurt my chances in the algorithm in YouTube, that my income might be less, it is ultimately the choice that is more consistent with what matters to me. One thing I was super certain about before I started any of these new ventures is how important it is to me that basically I don't build this into a new set of golden handcuffs. The second thing I learned about YouTube is kind of the monetization and business side of it. This might be a little bit behind the scenes, but I'm all for being transparent on these things so that when you guys are watching videos, you understand what are the motivations behind the creator who is making those videos. So different ways to monetize include AdSense, which is like those little ads you see on YouTube before, during, after a video, say $20 per 1,000 views. So it's not a lot of money, but it does add up once you have a library of videos. There are partnerships or sponsorships from companies who want to place an ad inside my video. So for example, I would say like this video is sponsored by X, Y, and Z and talk about them for like 60 seconds. There's affiliate income, which are links that are sometimes in my description box, and I get a small percentage if you use those links and click on something and buy it. And then the fourth type of income that I've seen people use, and I personally have not delved into this, is selling something directly to my audience. So people sell courses, they sell coaching packages, they sell all sorts of stuff. I've seen people make pajamas and sell pajamas. Irrelevant point, but I was like really drawn into this random pajama drama that was these creators that I've never seen before, but they created these matching pajamas and it created a whole stir. Anyway, where was I going with this? Yes, monetization. I learned a lot about the different kinds. And to be completely honest, I feel like all of them carry some risk of bias, right? If I were to completely optimize for AdSense revenue, and the context is I'm treating this as a business, this has to be like somewhat profitable and sustainable so that I get to keep making videos and keep putting in time, right? If I were to optimize mainly for AdSense, then I'm optimizing A, for views, so more virally, like clickbaity content, and staying within certain niche. For example, the personal finance niche generally pays better than, say, something that's more lifestyle. I haven't fully leaned into prioritizing that just because I'm not gonna pick the topics and messages and how I sound and the way I convey something just based on the dollars attached to it. That sounds just completely wrong, and it simply doesn't sound fun. As for affiliates, I don't really recommend things that I don't use anyway, so it's not like a thing that I would grow and purposefully add random material so that I can sell you affiliate links. Like, that doesn't even make sense. For stuff that creators sell directly to communities, I feel like this is where I kind of have a problem sometimes with creators. Like, sometimes it completely makes sense for a creators to sell a specific service, but sometimes it kind of turns the whole channel into one giant ad for the person, and it just feels like every single video is part of a sales funnel, and I don't want that, and I worry that it would be a slippery slope. I think coaching and courses is a great example. Like, if I were to sell an Airbnb course, which I have absolutely no intention to do, and I will state this on record, I feel like then I need the premise to be that Airbnbs are good and Airbnbs are useful and applicable to you and maybe as many people as possible so that people would come buy this course. You know what I mean? And I feel like that would impair my ability to say, yeah, my Airbnb is not doing well this year and I'd like to sell it. Like, if I were to say that in the future, it shuts down an entire business. It would be really hard to position yourself that way. It would be really hard to exit. So yeah, that one's completely ruled out, but I've seen some relevant things people sell. For example, as I was planning this India trip, I saw creators who filmed their whole India trip, and they are selling their itinerary for, I don't know, like a nominal amount. And I think that's fair. Like, they didn't create this trip just to make that itinerary. That's more of a byproduct, the thing that they have already done, and they're charging a small amount to make that available and maybe help someone else plan their trip a little faster. That seems less salesy to me, and I need to think a little bit more about why I exactly feel the way I feel about certain creators selling certain things. This could all just be in my head, so if you have any thoughts on this, I welcome your feedback on this monetization situation. The fourth revenue stream from having a channel is partnerships, and accepting the fact that you are basically placing a full-on ad in the video. I feel like at least it's disclosed and it's transparent that, yeah, this is a video about X, Y, and Z, and within it, there's an integration for whatever company and the thing that they're selling. As a viewer myself, I tend to have no problems with this just because it is fully disclosed. I know what is happening. There's nothing sneaky, and that just sits better with me. I don't know, again, if this is all in my head, something I need to think a little bit more about and how I want to proceed with this YouTube business for next year. But these are kind of just my quick thoughts on the different ways of monetization and what I've learned so far. I guess no firm conclusions. I will say, as far as sponsorships and partnerships, some companies are way better to work with than others. This is in terms of negotiating, paying on time, not nickel and diming or nitpicking over just honestly kind of insignificant things. That negotiation piece in and of itself has been such a learning curve, and it's been a fun challenge. I really enjoyed understanding more about this process. I hope you enjoyed and maybe resonated with parts of this video. I want to thank you for spending time with me today and allowing me to vent/reflect alongside someone else. This is one of my favorite parts of having a YouTube channel, to start conversations, reflect on life and business and all these things with someone else. I hope you're having an enjoyable holiday season, and I will see you again in the new year. Bye!